Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sasha Reade. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make one of these window cards, a floating window card I think is what it's called. These are my samples I've made before. Back when I first started with Alina I made that Easter card. And then this past week I made these three versions. So I made a square one with the butterfly on top, and then I made two Christmas ones. And today I'm going to be showing you how to make the Christmas cards. Like these ones here, and they're going to be this size. So all the measurements are provided, and I will also put them in the description box below as well. I'll link all the products I use for all the ones that I can still find if they're not Alina's ones, and you can find them in the description box below as well. So let's get started. So first of all, here are your measurements. You need to cut your card base. These are all in inches. And I will be showing you what you do. I'm going to go through the whole thing once with you and show you all the things you're cutting. But those are your measurements, which are also in the description box. So don't worry too much if you can't pause quick enough to get these measurements. I will show you down below. So the first thing we're going to do is cut our cardstock. We're going to cut our base. This is my tonic paper trimmer. It's fairly new to me. I'm still working on using it. The paper pad we're using is this one from Recollections, which I picked up in Michael's in Canada. I really liked this one because it had a really beautiful kind of rose gold foil to it. The coloured cardstocks are from Stampin' Up, and this one is from Limetree Crafts, the pearlescent card. So we're going to start by cutting our base first. I'm sorry if this is a bit slow. I'm trying to speed it up in places so it's not too boring, but I wanted to show you fully how you do it. So now you could score the middle is what I was pointing out there, but I just fold it in half. And then you want to cut 1.5 inches off twice. And then that middle bit that you've cut out can just go to the side into your scraps because we're not going to use it. That's where the acetate's going to go. And then you want to cut your layer. That's going to be your layers that are going to be going on top to line your acetate panel. Now you will need two of these because you've got your top and your bottom of your panel. So do make sure to cut two of those. And then the same with your decorative paper because that's going to go on the top. And these layers are going to hide your acetate behind, hide your acetate to make your card. Sorry. And then we're going to do an inside layer. I always feel like an inside layer really nicely finishes your card off and it gives you a place to stamp. Now, one of the things I think I forgot to do with this card is you stamp before you glue it down. Because if you make a mistake, you can flip it over and stamp again, or you can get a new panel cut. So do make sure to do any stamping before you stick that panel down. Now this acetate is a thick acetate. I can't remember how thick it is, but I basically bought the thickest one I could find. And you do want a thick acetate piece of plastic because you want it to be able to hold that front of your card. You don't want it to be loose and wobbly. So now that you've got your pieces, you can start assembling. Now this is the point where I would say stamp first. So I kind of forgot and I just started sticking everything together. So you see me stamp later and it actually turns out alright, but I do recommend you stamp first. Now this is a trick I learned from Natasha Foote, which she learned from someone else. She does this all the time on her YouTube channel. You basically stick down some tape on all the outside layers and then you lift one edge of it and take the middle off. And what this allows you to do is wiggle that piece of paper around till you get it dead center. As you can see, my edges are really, really tight. There isn't much space, so that little trick ensures that you can get it perfect every single time. And I will show you again later on when I do another card, just to kind of help you out if you didn't really catch it very well. Now what you want to do now is you can adhere your decorative paper to that first layer and stick those down because you don't need to worry about that too much at the moment. They can just go together. What I like to use is use a really strong tape to stick down that panel to the acetate because it is plastic, so it can kind of lift a bit easier. So I use the really strong tape. This is basically score tape, but it's called Sookwang, which is the company that makes score tape. And I got it from a seller on Etsy, which I think is the actual company, Sookwang. Now you stick your acetate, you stick your panel onto your acetate, and what I'm doing is I'm lining it up fully with the edge. So the acetate is cut the exact same width as my panels, and I'm sticking it down and lining up very carefully so it goes right along the edge, those 3 edges there. And then that now is exactly the size of that acetate. And don't forget to give it a firm rub on the back to make sure that that tape is sticking really well. Now what you do here is, again, stick tape down, but I find it really helpful to stick the tape right where those panels are, because then you can see exactly where you're going and you're not going to end up with the tape kind of poking out or sticking out anywhere. You're not going to stick it right underneath those panels. I tend to do the top one first, leave the sticky tape on the bottom one. Do not take it off, because when you rub it down just there, you will stick it to the inside of your card. So now you remove the second panel, and what I found helpful was to stick the panel down on the card, line it up perfectly with the card, and then stick that over top. And now you've got a perfectly level and even card, which is really awesome. This is a thanks die from Alina's shop. I haven't yet used it, but she designed another thanks die for us, and she's actually designed a thank you die, just because personally I find the word thanks, for me, it feels like it's a lazy way of saying thank you. And when I'm sending someone a card, I really like saying thank you. Like, I appreciate you so much, I'm going to use 2 words instead of 1. So she has got her designers to design a thank you card, or a thank you die. So that's coming soon. This is Alina's double-sided sticky sheets. What I just showed you there was, it was an A4 sheet of double-sided sticky amazingness. I've been using this stuff like crazy. Okay, well, that's the foam. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But I've been lining my cardstock with her double-sided sticky tape, and it is working a dream. Now, what I've done there to cut that thank you out, just to make sure it cuts out, is I've got some packing foam, which is the stuff I just showed you, and I've stuck that behind and run it through my Big Shot. Now this is where I've changed my mind. I picked these 2 colors out, and then I put them on the card, and I thought, oh, that kind of just gets washed out. It doesn't look right. There's something not right. So I tried again, and I tried with the white with the pink on top, which is my background, my card base color. And then I decided it still kind of looked a bit washed out, so I took my Wink of Stella, which is that one there. It's the clear one. And I just covered it in 2 layers of Wink of Stella, and it gives it a really nice shimmer. And this is a nice trick as well, is if you're struggling to coat your words or your fine intricate die cuts, just use one of those pokey tools to kind of hold it while you're doing it, and then you don't get your fingerprint on it and you don't remove any of the shine. So I'm just rubbing some Wink of Stella all over it, and in a minute I'm going to dry it with my heat tool. And then that kind of just helps speed up the process. I didn't want to put my heat gun on it for too long, because I am using Alina's double-sided sticky tape, and I didn't know how that would work with the heat. And so far it's resisted heat really well. It peels off amazingly and just sticks really well. And then if you give it a nice little rub, it just doesn't seem to come off. And even on glitter, so there you go, I've paused it for you to be able to see all that shine. And then I've done the double-sided tape on the back of that one as well, because my floating word is going right in the middle and you're going to be able to see my adhesive. I wanted my adhesive to be level and even, so I did the background layer in that as well, and it looks great. You can't really tell that there's loads of adhesive there. You can kind of see it if I wiggle it in the right light. It's just the most clever double-sided sticky tape, and it's so cheap. I've not seen any for that price before. This is the stamps that I'm using. I can't remember where it's from. I got it from an eBay bundle ages ago, so I don't think you can buy it anymore. But basically I wanted some flowers or some butterflies, so that's all I've used it for. And I've got the matching ink to go with the cardstock, which I think is rose red from Stampin' Up. And then I'm just sticking on some little elements. And this is what you should do before you stick that layer down. And I always stamp off to the side before I put it on. Just so I can make sure the stamp is nice and clear before I stick it down. Now this is Crystal Effects, that's what it's called, in a squeezy bottle from AliExpress. So I got these little fine tip bottles, sorry I'm losing my words. I got these fine tip bottles from AliExpress, and I filled it with some of that Crystal Effects, just because I found the Crystal Effects bottle wasn't fine enough and it was making a bit of a mess, so I filled it in there. Right, now I'm going to show you card number 2. However, for this one, I've pre-cut everything. I don't know why it's going so slow all of a sudden. I tried to do normal speed, but it feels like it's going really slow. This is the paper pad I'm using from The Works, and I'm just showing you what cardstock I'm using. More Stampin' Up! Cardstock that I've got in my stash. I just kind of tried to pick colors that would match. And now I've pre-cut it all, so I saved you the boringness of watching that. And I'm going to show you how to assemble it again, and then how I decorate this one. So this time I decided to go with a double panel layer on the inside. And so all you need to do is just do 1/8 of an inch smaller than my measurement that I've shown you. And I think those are poinsettias that I've decided to use. So here I'm just showing you how I mark my card so that I know don't stamp beyond that pencil mark, because then it's going to show through that little clear panel. So right now I'm doing my little stamping. You can see my little sample to the right, which I did off camera. I just played with it and made sure I knew what I was doing before I started stamping on my card panel. And all I did was just stamp this layered stamp, and you can see that pencil mark, which I then erase, which then is still kind of left a little mark. So I flip it around and use the sand eraser on the other side and gets rid of it completely. So then now I do my trick of adhering it, which is from Natasha Foots, where you remove just an edge of each of the bits of tape, and then you can line it up straight and exact dead center of the middle of your card. So I hope I'm not going too fast for you. If you have any questions, please pop them below. I'd be more than happy to answer. And some of this may not be right. It might not be the perfect way to make a card, but this is how my brain functions and how I tend to do it. But yeah, please do leave a comment if you like, and do subscribe. I'm going to be trying to do 2 videos a week if I can get my act together, and I'm planning to mix it up with some tutorials and some design team makes. So here I'm using this die set from Alina, which on one of my other cards you will have seen the hello. This is the same kind of die, but it says Merry Christmas. Now I played around loads with different color combinations again. Well, probably not loads, like 3, but it was loads for me. And I was trying to get the right color combination, and I just couldn't work out how to make these words kind of pop enough. I wanted to use a coordinating colored designer paper from that same paper pack so it all went together. But I was really struggling with these words and that designer paper pack. Now I've cut out the snowflake. I don't end up using the snowflake. I don't think. Maybe I did. I can't remember now. We'll get to the end and I'll tell you. No, I didn't use it. So I was trying to work it out. I was like, do I do a bigger one? Do I do a smaller one? Do I do the dark color, the light color? And in the end I was just like, no, scrap the snowflake, get the glitter. We're going to do a massive glitter snowflake background. These snowflakes are from Alina as well, the snowflake backgrounds. This is stamping masking paper, which I thought was going to come A4, so I feel like it was quite expensive for what it is. It's basically sheets of post-it note tape, like full sheets. And I wanted to die cut a circle because I had this idea, which I've seen, I don't know, I saw it on some forum, of where you kind of emboss part of your die cut. And I thought this would look so good and would just kind of give it that little bit of pop to stand off of my background image. So all I'm doing is I put that circle down in the middle, which is basically post-it note tape. I'm covering it in Versamark, which is a very sticky ink. And then I'm sticking it on top of this little bit of paper just to try and make a little handle to hold it so that I can sprinkle my embossing powder all over. And this is gold embossing powder. Now the problem is that my little post-it note tape thingy started lifting because I picked it up too many times and it just wasn't sticking very well. I should have stuck the little handle on before I started doing all that faffing about. But anyways, it worked in the end. I got a little bit of embossing powder underneath it where I didn't want it, but I'm not bothered by that. So you can see it starting to curl here, and it didn't really like my heat tool and started to curl when I was doing that as well. But I felt like that just gave it its little bit of pop. And on the back of this, I stuck Alina's double-sided sticky stuff again, which sticks amazingly well to this glitter card. It has been 3 or 4 days since I filmed this, and it is still stuck perfectly to that glitter. And this is not non-shed glitter. It is proper glitter card with loose bits all over the place. Now here I'm marking the edge of that die with a pencil so I know where to stick my sticky tape, because I don't want any tape on my window. I want it to look flawless from behind. So I've just stuck some really strong Sikwang small tape just behind it. I've got Alina's double-sided tape, which is super duper strong as well, but I have no idea where I put it. So just before I take off the tape, I've erased the pencil marks, and then I just line it up straight over those 2 bits, and that is enough to hold it in place. You don't need loads. And then from this stamp set, I decided to use and Happy New Year, because my die says Merry Christmas all along it. And now I'm just doing my trick of rubbing over my stamp to get that sort of top surface a bit more roughed so that I can then stamp nice and clear. Now again, I've marked where my panel is with a pencil, so I know exactly where I'm stamping. And then I go back and I erase those little marks. This time I put them on a little bit lighter so I didn't need the sand bit. Now you'll have seen this in my other card. I used the penguin from the set. It is my new favorite Christmas set. Now what I've been loving doing lately is building it up. Instead of using foam, which I will now use foam because Alina's foam has arrived, I've been stacking them with multiple layers of card, and it just makes it feel a bit more substantial and sturdy. So here I've layered 3 layers of that gift box present, Christmas present, and then I'm putting one in gold on the top to kind of go with my gold embossing that was around the edge. And I love how it turned out. Now, when I put this down, because it's so detailed, all my glue kind of squished out. I should have probably used some sticky tape rather than liquid glue. But if you just take your sleeve or something maybe not so precious, like a bit of fabric, you can actually just lightly rub over if you've got a non-tacky kind of glue. So that glue is really good because I just rubbed it straight off the top. And then I left it to sit for about an hour. The glue I used on that gift box was the multimedia matte Ranger mixed media glue from Tim Holtz, or Ranger, I don't know who it is from. But I just pinned it on, stuck it down, and it worked a treat. So thank you so much for joining me. That's the end of my tutorial. Any questions, anything I've missed, then please pop it below. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a lovely day. Thank you. Bye.